Good morning, book lovers of the internet. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe because for every subscriber, I get a new subscriber and I read a page from a book of my choice. So I woke up about an hour ago and I finished reading this book called The Boy Who Lost His Face by Louis Sachar. I started off the year by reading a book by this author called Dogs Don't Tell Jokes. Now, this one has about 200 pages, and I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. And this is basically what I thought of it. So, I think that it is a pleasant yet far from original read because, as you know, I've read many books by this author and by other authors, of course, from the same genre. And I didn't think of this as an original concept, but much like many of this author's books, this one has to do with bullying and the consequences of peer pressure. Now, I don't understand why David's former mates would violate an old woman for no reason like that. It is certainly very unethical and rude, and I wouldn't behave that way if I was their age. That's one thing I can say for certain. It might be because they thought of her as a witch because of the rumors that had been spreading about this poor old woman. This was quite a predictable read, to be honest. I knew that the curse wasn't real, that Tori had something to do with the old woman because of the green eyes and the behavior, and basically jutting her tongue out through her cheek, something like that in a way. So there were quite a few similar characteristics between Tori and her great aunt, this witch basically. Um, David really thought he was cursed when in fact it was his own subconscious punishing him. And Sachar over here really took the placebo effect to an extent, delving into what is referred to as a nocebo, which is the opposite of a placebo, whereby you refrain from doing certain things, but because you worry that bad things will happen, but they happen anyway, or the situation gets even worse. And this is what happened to David, I suppose. Sakar probably did this unintentionally, but still, this is a pretty cool psychological concept he delved into here, whether knowingly or not. Um, I still think that 160 pages of coincidences is certainly too much. For it all to be a placebo effect, it can't possibly all be his subconscious, and it is taken to quite an extreme over here, and it might delve into the unrealistic even. So, um, yeah, that should have been limited for sure. I was quite worried at first as I thought that Miss Williams was a teacher rather than a student, and that David wanted to be in a relationship with her because they had this sort of relationship, right, where she would refer to him by his surname and he would refer to her by her surname, and it was very formal but at the same time funny. There was something about this which I missed out on completely, so I'm not exactly sure how I missed that, but it was still creepy for a couple of chapters. Anyway, I am glad that David did ultimately manage to stand up for himself against his bullies. Scott deserved much worse, in my opinion, because he was David's friend originally, and he ended up backstabbing him multiple times. And yeah, he deserved way worse than what he got. Um, he wouldn't have succeeded by. I mean, David would not have succeeded in his mission of retrieving the cane for the old Lady Ballinger, I believe. Um, if it wasn't for Tori, without Tori's help, he wouldn't have done this because Tori basically just spoke to Randy and he gave her the cane without asking any questions. And if Tori hadn't done that, this would have been about 100 pages longer quite easily. The idea of the masks, the fact that the old lady creates her own masks and she is a very popular artist, she is very creative. Now I don't see how nobody would know of her in the town or the village they're in if she is so famous. Um, but still, it is quite a creative idea that she knows how to make such realistic masks. I am not certain why a few decades back in the 80s, perhaps, people seemed to be so bored that they'd only get a kick out of being a nuisance, a public nuisance especially. And I hate how David's former friend group didn't get the proper beating they truly deserved. It doesn't have anything to do with an adrenaline rush. It just has everything to do with with respect for the public, without being a nuisance or creating such havoc in a context which tries to protect you. But I suppose these things you only learn when you are older, and when you're young, you're only chasing the adrenaline, and you don't really know the extent of the consequences to the trouble you will create. So anyway, that's all from me. For this book, The Boy Who Lost His Face, it's all metaphorical, by the way. He doesn't actually lose his face. It's the metaphorical sort of face having to do with reputation. That is something that needed to be said. But anyway, that's all from me regarding this book by Louis Sachar, the second book by this author I read in 2024. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to click the subscribe button, leave a like and a comment because I reply to everybody, and maybe check out a few other videos to help out my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Bye, guys.